Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jeff Semantic, and I am from the state of Connecticut, the radiation director. But I'm also the HSIN administrator for our community of interest. So, a couple of things, and this is really going to talk about a specific issue, but just overall, let me just talk a little bit about HSIN. So, HSIN is the Homeland Security Information Network, and it's run by the Department of Homeland Security. And within the the HISN itself has a vast number of what they call communities of interest, where different groups are focused on information sharing in those different roles. And we, the Ross community, have our own community of interest. So amongst all these other programs that we operate, why did we select to have a community of interest in HISN? Well, HISN does a couple of things. One, there's a process for vetting members. So within our community of interest, I control who has access to information and ability to get into our community of interest. The second thing is, which was a big plus for us, we can vet and allow people to use a non.gov email. So people with .coms or even Gmail type addresses can sign up and be members through HISN. That's a big plus for us, especially as we identify, we had a number of people who were retirees and we just couldn't get them into other networks and systems. So that's a plus. Third, it does allow us to share sensitive and for official use only information. So that is good, especially as we deal with some of these exercises and or drills or real events where we might be sharing, say, information on projected casualty rates and stuff like that, that we just don't want to be out there in the public as we're trying to work through systems. And then finally, DHS does support this at no cost to us, which is great. And we are sponsored in this, I should mention, through CISA, the Cyber and Information Infrastructure Security Agency. They have a nuclear sector. They sponsor our community of interest. So on the screen there, you just see a short little home screen that you'll land on. It's a place of provides us a repository for information that you can read. It's a read-only library. There is a collaboration library you can get in, and it does allow us to do some links and some other things there. So I think in later Ross quarterly meetings, we may do some demos of some other stuff. But one of the challenges we've had has been on getting people registered into HISN itself. Next slide, Bill. So the current process in registration, and if you don't have a PIV card with DHS, and most of us don't, that you have to go it's really a 4-step, but it's really kind of two big processes. Steps 1 and 2 are getting you a HISN account, and steps 3 and 4, once you have a HISN account, let you get into the community of interest. So the big challenge has been in steps 1 and 2. So the way it works currently is, if you want to be a member of HISN, I have to set up and get the HISM vetting authority to issue you an email that you have to go through, and then go through a process where you go through and get through your HISN enrollment. And that involves going through a series of questions with credit agencies. So if you've ever done, even though they don't check your credit, they use the vetting from credit agencies. So if you ever done one of those where they ask you, which address have you lived in the last 10 years, and it lists 4 addresses, and one of them may be yours or none of them may be yours, and you're supposed to select that, or what car have you owned, those kind of questions. That's the process that it works through. And we've had a lot of problem with people being able to go through that process. Just everything from names matching legal names versus the commonly used names, to people not having accurate, not thinking the information's accurate in there, or even if you've had a credit lock, that kind of defeats that. And then we have to go through a second supervisory review process. So that's really been a clunky system for us, and has really resulted in some challenges in getting people in. So as a result, I've got hundreds of HSIN account requests that went out to people when they completed class, and if people weren't able to get through the process, they expire. That locks out that email, and we have to go through all kinds of iterations to try to get people in. So that's the current system. Next slide, please. So HSIN has identified that this is a problem, and so they're working to implement a change, which will be self-service registration, and they expect to roll this out first quarter next year is the current schedule. And so what'll happen for that, for most of you who are non-PIV users, which are the little cards you can plug in to your computer, we're going to go through a system called login.gov, and login.gov allows you access to a number of government sites, but it's a credentialing and verification system. And so you go into login.gov, and what it'll have you do in order to get to verify your identity. So the identity proofing using called the IDP, it has two options. One, it either has you scan and upload your driver's license to do your identity verification. If people are uncomfortable with that, it does have an option where you can present yourself in person at a local post office, and they will do the identity verification there for you. So hopefully this will alleviate the first step in getting people onto HSIN. Once you're onto HSIN, it's pretty simple. You either submit a request through the HSIN system, you go through the HSIN Community of Interest directory, find the ROS, and say, I want to join this, or you send me an email directly and say, hey, I'm in HSIN, I want to join the COI. I'll verify with FEMA that you've been through the class and you're on the list, and then pretty much within about 10 minutes I can approve access into the community of interest. Next slide, Bill. So again, here's just kind of the comparison differences. So the self-service registration will move over to login.gov. Instead of going through the credit bureaus, you're going to use your driver's license or present yourself at a post office. And then after that, the requests are pretty much the same. You either request through HSIN or request directly with me to get onto the website. Next slide. So just if you have any questions or requests, you can reach out to me. There's my there's my email and phone number request. And I see from Mike, they're asking about past or inactive HSIN users. So past HSIN users, I've got that question to them. I am not sure yet if it's good, if we need to apply through login.gov or they're going to carry it over. They didn't have that question on the last users group meeting ready to answer. So hopefully they'll have that shortly when they do the rollout. I'm anticipating that if you've already been credentialed that you should be okay, but we'll see if they want to change that. For inactive users, I would say right now the biggest challenge is just going in and you got to get a password reset and go through that process on the home screen, and you can get back into the system. That's relatively easy, and their number for help works pretty well, and they'll get you through a reset pretty quickly on the system. For the new people who've been through the class, I'm going to hold off on doing, just because of the complications with the system, I'm going to hold off in issuing that unless you really want to, get on, and then you can shoot me an email directly and I can get you through the current process if you want. How long passwords last? I can't remember if it's 60 days, but there is also some lockout if you haven't been in for a while that you're going to have to request your password change. And unfortunately, like a lot of the federal systems seem to be doing right now, it does require, like a 14 character password with a lot of other stuff getting on that. I don't believe there's any chance of Ross's getting PIV cards, but that would probably be best addressed by FEMA on that. But I don't think that's going to happen at least in the near term. Any other questions?
Wheat from the year 1986. Once again, we're going to re-rank all these songs based on their performance or all-time performances.
I don't know who that is.
It's a really
Yeah, I don't think that was related to our call.
And I wasn't ranking any songs. So.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.